Bankers have been known throughout the centuries as people who know how to make money. Originally, bankers were nothing more than goldsmiths who would store gold or other precious metals for people and charge a fee for doing so. Later on, these goldsmiths became money changers when they began facilitating exchange by allowing security notes, which they issued for storing gold or precious metals, to be signed over to a different owner without the original owner physically cashing in the note. This allowed the owner to use their note of security as a means of trade, purchasing goods, services, etc., while the new owner of the note had guaranteed redemption rights to the stored gold. Over time, bankers became aware of the fact that few people ever cashed in the notes of security which they had been issued, and therefore the bankers were left storing large amounts of inventory, in this case gold and precious metals. This led some bankers to the dishonest practice of issuing notes for more than what they really had in their inventory storehouses, because they knew that the likelihood of all the depositors demanding to have their notes redeemed at the same time was highly unlikely. This dishonest practice led to more notes being placed into circulation than there was real currency, gold and precious metals, in storage. Merchants were the first to feel the effects of this dishonesty, and they reacted by passing the cost of this on to their consumers in the form of higher prices. Higher prices have been called inflation, but in reality, inflation is the dishonest practice of bankers who produce fiat currency, also known as paper money, without having the reserves to back it up. This practice is also called monetizing, and it is still practiced today by literally all banks throughout the world. This dishonest practice is what has given bankers a bad name, and it is also what has caused the American dollar to lose 96% of its purchasing power since 1913. Why 1913? Well, that is the year when this practice of dishonest banking became legal for the few elite people holding the monopoly of printing money in the United States. Legal, but certainly not honest. These people, now authorized to print money by the United States government, operate under the Federal Reserve Act of Congress, which President Wilson signed into law in 1913. As mentioned earlier, consumers call the side effects of this process inflation. Some people blame merchant greed for the higher prices, but in reality, that's not what causes inflation. Inflation is caused by the creation of money that is not based on any real or tangible currency. Pull out any paper money that you currently have and read what it's called. A Federal Reserve note. This note is the legal tender of the United States, but just because it's legal doesn't make it right, honest, or accurate. To be right, honest, and accurate, it would have to be precise, and precise would mean that for every Federal Reserve note that exists, there would have to be a corresponding amount of precious metals stored by the Federal Reserve backing up that piece of paper in your hand. This is not the case, and that is why the American dollar has lost 96% of its purchasing power since 1913. Inflation, as we now know, isn't caused by greedy merchants, but by bankers, politicians, and others who perform this dishonest banking practice. Inflation has become one of the most subtle ways that dishonest bankers use to make money. And this dishonesty, though completely legal today, is destroying the economic matrix of our country and our world. People have been controlling and benefiting from inflationary banking practices for centuries. In Jesus' time, they were money changers in the temple. In fact, Jesus reportedly saw what the money changers were doing and became very angry. Making a whip, he drove the bankers out of the temple by force, destroying their tables, their records, and receipts. Why would this teacher of peace and love resort to force over such matters? The answer is simple. He understood that inflation is an unjust weight and measure. Inflation is a form of slavery, subtle as it may be, that has been practiced throughout history, and its effects are quite harmful, leading men and women to believe that they are free, when in reality they have become slaves to time and wages, as their wages have become less and less valuable. As you can see, this creates a savage cycle of perpetual bondage in which the worker, producer, and consumer becomes further and further subjected to their hidden masters, the bankers who practice this dishonesty, creating money out of thin air. So, is it even possible to beat the cost of inflation using the legal currency of today? More specifically, how can you lower the inflation rate you are paying so that your dollar will become more valuable instead of less valuable? At Life Benefits, we use participating whole life insurance because, when designed correctly, the value of your dollar increases over time as the cash value inside the policy increases to be greater than premiums paid. This cash value is contractually guaranteed to be available to you, the policy owner, through policy loans. These policy loans are a guaranteed liquid source of equity which can be borrowed and self-managed. This process is sometimes called becoming your own banker because of the similarity of making loans, in this case from your policy. And when done appropriately, the positive cash flow from these policy loans can be used to create more value, wealth, and abundance. At Life Benefits, we design, sell, and service participating whole life insurance. To see what a policy would look like for you with these contractual guarantees to help you boot inflation, please contact our office. If you already have a life insurance policy and would like it reviewed, you'll want to request an in-force illustration either from your agent or the insurance company and then contact our office. We'll be happy to review it with you free of charge. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Also click the subscribe button to enjoy the latest content and newest videos on the channel.